In this episode of the Latino Business Report, we have Julio Cesar Cedillo, co-star in a new movie from Mucho Mas Media, The Black Demon. The Black Demon is a movie about how we've mistreated the earth and put ourselves into this very predicament. We've made our bed, and now we must lie in it. The Black Demon is a creature that is not a hell-bent, unkind predator, but rather a physical embodiment of retribution. The Black Demon is an emissary acting on behalf of Tlaloc, Aztec god of rain and fertility, to reclaim the ocean that was laid to waste by human greed and desire. Oh, so how do you like that for an intro, folks? Hey, this was a great movie. It is a shark movie. Yep, you got it, a shark movie. And who doesn't like a good shark movie? This had me on the edge of my seat through the whole darn thing. So stay tuned, go ahead, listen in, and let's find out more about The Black Demon.
Welcome to the Latino Business Report. This podcast covers business, people, and issues of the day from a Latino perspective. The Latino Business Report is brought to you by TAMAC, the Texas Association of Mexican American Chambers of Commerce. TAMAC is the leading Hispanic business organization in Texas since 1975. Now for your host, J.R. Gonzalez.
And welcome to another episode. Who out there doesn't like going to the movies? I know I do. I used to go to the movies all the time. The pandemic kind of slowed it down a little bit, but I'm slowly getting back into it. And if you haven't, you should. There's a new movie that's coming out that just broke this last weekend, The Black Demon. You know what? This movie, who doesn't like a good shark movie? It keeps you on the edge of the seat. I know it kept me going. It kept me on the edge of my seat. I was excited. I really enjoyed the film. And it's one of the this one's going to be a classic. This one is going to be one that's going to be around for a long time. And what I find interesting, it wasn't a big studio film. This was an independent film. I got some great actors in there. And we have one of those actors today to talk to you. And his name is Julio Cesar Cedillo. Julio, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, man. I'm doing great. I finally got to see the movie last night, so I'm really excited. Yeah.
Are you saying I saw the movie before you?
You saw the movie before me. You must know people in high places because I had not seen it yet.
Well, what did you think of the movie?
Listen, it's I love the movie. I love the movie for all the reasons I decided to be a part of it. Because of the storyline. You know, it's a story about a family. It's a survival film. And yeah, it's got some mythology mixed in there. So yeah, it was pretty entertaining. I loved it. You know, the opening sequence. I loved. I love the dynamics between the family and then my character and my best friend in the film. But you know, it's almost like it's hard to be objective when you're such a big part of it. You know,
Right.
I can look at scenes and then remember where we were and what we took to film them. So it's hard to be objective per se because I'm such a big part of it. And but I'm very I feel very fortunate to have been a part of it because we don't tend to see those kinds of characters on the big screen with that genre, you know, shark genre. So it's kind of nice to be now part of that list of movies that we can say, hey, we're up there. You know, that's a nice thing.
Hey, you did a shark movie. You've made it.
I did a shark movie.
You've made it.
By the way, just to remind everybody, it's a shark movie. It's not Shakespeare. You know, we had a lot of fun making it. It was a lot of work, but we had fun making it.
Well, I want to talk about the movie here a little bit more, but one of the things that just struck me as you were talking, as an actor, you're right. You don't see the movie to the final. You don't see it till it's already out, and then the way you film, it's in pieces. So, what's that like? I mean, just to be on the set and to be an actor, and you do a scene here, you do a scene there, and then you leave it up to the studios to put it all together.
Yeah, you know, I think that's when I started out as an actor, that was the part that kind of always threw me. Like, why don't we shoot films in chronological order? But the problem with that those become budget constraints because you can't be bouncing back and forth in chronological order if you have to secure a location, right? So it's all based on access to your locations. So you kind of have to do your homework as an actor, and even everybody involved has to do their homework because you have to know where your place is in the script, where you're coming, where you're going, the arc of the story, the arc of the characters. So you kind of have to build a roadmap for yourself to kind of keep yourself straight, you know, making sure you're you're hitting the right notes when you're in these scenes. But with time and experience, it becomes a little bit, you get used to shooting out of sequence, and
Right.
sometimes it works, and sometimes you struggle a little bit. But we shot out in the Dominican Republic. We shot on a 60,000 square foot tank, especially for these kinds of films. And there's several,
60,000 square
it's
foot
a it's a
tank.
it's a 60,000 square foot pool, swimming pool, basically.
That's
And
huge.
well, it's massive because you got to mimic the ocean, right? And in the middle of the part of that tank, the middle part drops to about 22, 23 feet down below. It doesn't seem deep, but it's pretty deep. But that's where you do all your blue screen work. So that's where we were able to dive. You can't, I mean, we could go out in the ocean, we could go do that, but that poses all kinds of safety issues and problems. And, when we were diving, we had safety divers with us, so you want to feel safe when you're doing this sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, you try to keep it all together and straight in your head when you're filming. And that's why I love what I do for a living. Everything I do is always an adventure.
Well, let me ask you this, Julio. A lot of people think, yeah, man, it'd be great to be an actor. You just go on the set, do some scenes, you get paid big bucks for it. But I mean, there's a lot of work that goes behind acting.
Yeah, listen, the worst thing you can think of if you're going to be an actor, and I'm saying this to all the wannabe actors out there, God bless you, because it's not about you hitting your mark and just saying your lines. There's a great responsibility when it comes to acting, because you have to make sure that before you even walk on set, that you have fleshed out whatever you're going to do. And even whatever you're going to do, don't tie yourself to it, because it may change when you're on set. The dialogue could change. The actor you're working with may approach it differently. The director may come at you differently. You may have to do some actions work that you didn't realize you were going to have to do. So those are the sort of things that you got to be open. You got to be ready and open and prepared. And you have to know what you're doing forwards and backwards, meaning your dialogue. So, and then remember, you're also nervous. I mean, every
Yeah.
time I go on a movie set, man, I am so nervous. And the best thing I could tell myself
Wait a
is
minute.
is
You're
acknowledge
you're,
it.
you're nervous?
Always. If
Julio,
you're
your
nervous,
your credentials. I mean, you've done over 70 TV and film productions, and after all that, you're
yeah.
still nervous?
Oh yeah, I was nervous at every one of those things I was in, man. I was so scared that it's that imposter syndrome. You walk in and you're like, you feel like, really? I mean, I'm here? Wow. But having said that, I'm about to say something very controversial when it comes to that kind of thing. When you walk onto a set, the last thing you need to feel is feel grateful. The last thing you need to feel is being humble. That doesn't serve your job as an actor. Your job is to collaborate. Your job is to bring an interpretation. Your job is to bring a voice to a character that you need to bring to life. So if you come in just feeling grateful and you're going to be like a puppet. You're going to stand where they tell you, and you're just going to say the lines they told you to say. If you're not engaged in the story telling process, then you're really not doing your job. And being grateful is just that you're just happy they even invited you. That's not the way to collaborate. You do a lot of you cover a lot of politics. I'm very much aware of that. It's the same way with being a good politician, a good servant to the people, rather than politicking. The best way to be a representative of your constituency is to engage with them, to see what their needs are, to see how you can be an asset. That's the same thing with being an actor on a film set. You have to serve the story in the same way you have to serve the people. Okay. And when people lose sight of that and they become their own little celebrities in the political world, it's the same thing in the movie world. You can't walk in acting like a celebrity. You're here to bring to life a character, and you're there to affect others, and they're there to affect you. That's storytelling, right? And but in the same way, when you walk in and you're a new U.S. representative, you're going to feel like an imposter because you can't believe you are where you are serving the people. It's the same with being an actor. I can't believe I'm on these big, huge movie sets, and I allow myself to kind of panic and freak out the first 30 minutes or to an hour that I'm there. Because yeah, I mean, when you work with Daniel Craig, Sam Rockwell, Tommy Lee Jones, I can keep going.
Yeah.
Um,
You've
it,
worked with
it-
some of the greats.
yeah, man. And so my job is to uh, be ready to do what I do best, but to help them too, to help them as actors. I'm a servant to the story. And I have to remind myself why I'm there. And if I take it in little pieces, bit by bit, it's all manageable. I can make it happen. I can truly be the actor I was meant to be when I'm there, but I don't pull the focus to it to be about me. As long as I'm serving the story and I'm focused on the character, I'll be okay. And I was watching the movie last night, and I'm really happy with the work that I did along with my castmates. That's a monumental task to go out and shoot a movie like that. Especially a movie that we haven't seen. In fact, I was talking to my producer a couple of minutes before I even logged in with you. I said, we went into uncharted waters with this movie. This is a genre film that we're pushing in another direction,
Mm-hmm.
because we're telling a story, and then this involves a biracial family. You have a Caucasian man, Latin woman. They're going to Mexico, and they're having to work out through their relationship while at the same time surviving this shark that's below, that's gonna pretty much kill them,
Okay.
essentially eat them.
Definitely. Let's talk about the movie for a second, The Black Demon. Okay, kind of set the table for us, kind of describe it and what the movie is about. Now, no spoiler alerts. We've both seen the movie. I know it opened this past weekend. There's a lot of folks that haven't seen it yet. So, guys, I'm telling you right now, we're not going to give any. We're not going to do any spoilers for you. But at the same time, this is a movie I thoroughly enjoyed and definitely recommend seeing. So, Julio, set the table for us a little bit and tell us what the film is about.
Sure. Well, the Black Demon, in essence, is about a family that goes back to a spot where this couple, had spent time when they were dating, and they were a couple, and now they've gone back with their family to go enjoy a quick vacation. But at the same time, the lead in it, Paul Sturges, is being asked by the oil company to go back and inspect El Diamante, which is an oil rig off the coast, and basically when they get to town, they discover the town is in shambles. It's kind of died out. It's obvious something ominous has happened there, because a lot of businesses have boarded up. Things aren't looking too good, and the people just seem really solemn, as though they're dealing with the death of a small town. Eventually, the oil inspector goes out to this rig to inspect this rig, and finds that everybody has died, and there's only two survivors there. And at that point, his world is about to be, turned upside down. Meanwhile, his family's back on shore, and they find themselves in predicament. And just to escape that predicament, the only thing they could think of is just to go to the rig where her husband is, and drag her children with her.
So, leave danger to
But
go into more danger.
and exactly, you go into things are about to get worse. So in essence, the movie is really about how does this family survive this shark, right? It's a survival film, but also along the way they start to unravel many things dealing with his past, and from that point on, it's how they make it out of there if they can. So in a nutshell, it's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple
Okay.
story, but it's the fun part is watching them sort of figure things out and how they deal with this shark. And my character in particular is one of the two survivors on the rig, and it's his sort of cabin fever mentality, and the mythology of the Black Demon plays into it, because it ties into, the shark is more of a curse that's been
Well,
thrust.
it's not even I mean, it's a shark, but we're talking about a prehistoric shark that has
Exactly.
been
We're talking
revived.
a megalodon.
A
It's a
megalodon.
big,
I mean,
as
that's a
as as
big
my
ass shark, man.
as my brother say, pinche tiburón. It's a big
Ándale.
ass shark. Excuse my language, but I mean
That's
it's a
so.
big ass shark, right? It's no joke. The thing is massive, right? So it's not something that you're all going to play with.
So that thing that people saw back in the '70s, that the Jaws, that's kind of like a minnow compared to this megalodon, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I watched Jaws when I was working on the film, and I would go back to my hotel after filming scenes. And by the way, while we were filming, we never got to see the rendering of the shark, so I still didn't know what the shark was going to look like. But I was watching Jaws, and I got to watch the Meg, and I was just trying to get kind of in the mindset of all these awesome genre films. And I noticed in Jaws there were a lot of people sunbathing, and I never saw any Latinos, sunbathing. I didn't see, there weren't any Latinos in Jaws per se. And I'm just excited that we get to, be in a film like Jaws, and yeah, to say that our shark is bigger than Jaws. Now, I'm not here to say that our film is better than Jaws or any other film. Our film is so different from all of those, so they're not comparable. But I'm really proud that we're up there on the screen, because typically, if we're Latinos in these sort of films, we get eaten first. We're
Yeah.
we're gonna be we're gonna be bait for these creatures.
Well, in Jaws, you do make a point. I remember the films. There weren't many Latinos. And I just came to the conclusion that sharks preferred white meat. But
It's a little dry. If you eat Latinos,
get some gravy on it.
They're a little spicy.
A little more moist.
It's a little bit moist, more flavorful. No offense to all the white meat out there, but the brown meat is always tastier.
So as we look at this now, this what megalodon? This
megalodon. I know it took me a while to kind of pronounce
megalodon. Well, what's still taking me a while is the name of this ancient Aztec god that brings forth this megalodon to as the movie treatment says. What is it? This megalodon is a physical embodiment of retribution. I love that line. A physical
you know what that
embodiment of
translates
retribution.
to. What that actually means is you're screwed.
Yeah, big time.
Big time.
Not only nature, but the ancient Aztec gods are raining on your parade, man. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When you've got Tlaloc right behind your
Tlaloc.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, the little boy in the film is discovering this mythology along the way, which he's a big part of it. And yeah, it was funny because we were all trying to make sure we were all pronouncing it correctly, because we had to say it so many times.
Well, some of the stuff in the movie that I read says that this is based on a true belief or a true legend in Mexican culture.
Listen, I'm Mexican. I was born in Durango in 1970, and I went to go find this mythology, and actually, there's some articles where people have spotted a huge shark. They confuse it with a whale shark, I think, is one of those, but apparently it goes back to the 1500s.
Wow.
So, it's kind of like the Loch Ness monster. Everybody talks about the Loch Ness monster. It's kind of like that,
Mm-hmm.
But, the black demon isn't quite as popular as La Llorona or El Cucuy,
or Chupacabra,
Chupacabras, I mean, Chupacabras is actually from the 90s, right? So the black demon goes much further back, so maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we can start talking about the black demon again,
Well, what I really enjoyed about the movie, Julio, is that I thought it was wonderfully filmed. I really enjoyed it. It kept me on the edge of my seat. And as I looked at it, I mean, when the family was walking through that pretty much abandoned village, I mean, I felt like I was there. I mean, I've been in places in Mexico like that, and it just came to life on the film.
Well, listen, when you're shooting in a coastal town and village, and you see in the scene, it's a beautiful shot where they've got this man filleting the fish, cutting the scales off the fish, and I mean, that all brings it to life. But then there's also the aspect of the coastal town where you see it's also dilapidated, and things are not feeling great. There's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. There's a lot of them, but one of my favorite ones is the way it starts, where you find the mother having to protect her children, and the way she leaves and jumps on that boat.
Right.
It was pretty visceral stuff. I really enjoyed that part of it. As much as I love this film, and I was trying to watch it with an objective eye, there were a lot of things I didn't see, and I was not a part of. I was never a part of those scenes in the beginning with the family on land, right, inland.
And who plays the mother?
So that is a wonderful actress named Fernanda Urrejola. She's a Chilean actress. We both are alumni of the Narcos Mexico Netflix series. She
Okay.
played Diego Luna's wife on Narcos Mexico. And she's just an excellent actress, but more importantly, just an incredible human being, wonderful sense of humor, beautiful spirit, and also just a beautiful, just
Oh, she's a
physically
beautiful
and
woman. Yeah.
internally beautiful person.
But I tell you what, when she protected her children, that was
Oh my God.
a pissed off Latina. Let me tell you,
Dude,
man.
you're not gonna mess with the Latina her kids. I mean, she took care of some things, by the way, and even on the rigs. I mean, she's pretty badass. I mean, the way she's dealing with things, you know.
And her husband is played by Josh Lucas.
Yeah, so Josh Lucas is somebody that people will remember from. I think it's called Sweet Home Alabama or Sweet. There's a he's been around a while,
Yes,
and he's
and
also
he's also in
Yellowstone.
Ferrari, and he's been in a
Yeah,
lot of movies.
he's been in a lot of movies. That guy's he's a veteran actor. Really great guy. Gave it his all, and I would always make fun of his skinny ass jeans. He wears these really tight jeans in the film, and I would always make fun of him. I'm like, you're gonna have to stop eating, man. Those you're gonna bust at the seams with those skinny jeans
Well,
you're wearing. No, he's a sweet guy. Again, we were all just trying to, kind of bring life to these characters. We're kind of in an absurd situation with this big shark lurking below. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We don't take ourselves serious, and I don't think people should take this film also that
it's an
serious.
entertainment film.
It's a shark movie. It's
It's
a
a
shark movie,
megalodon
man.
movie. It's not
It's a
beach a
megalodon
shark.
movie,
No,
exactly.
it's a
It's what
megalodon.
pinches people on you.
Hey, and what I also find interesting is that this film wasn't coming out of a big studio. It's an independent film.
Yeah, I mean, I've said that before, that it's an independent film. There are some studios involved, but it's not the big ones you're thinking of.
Okay.
We're not talking about the big.
So who did this film?
What's that?
So who created this
So
film?
Mucho Mas Media is part of that production. Highland Film Group is a part of it. Avenue Film, and there's probably a few others. I'm not privy to all of them, but they all have a stake in the film, and I think they're great guardians of the story. I'm very proud to be a part of that. But listen, man, I don't think what people understand is, like, making movies is so hard. If people only understood the amount of people on set,
It's
all the artists,
expensive. I mean,
it's
expensive too.
expensive. And by the way, we did shoot in the Dominican because of that tank, and I think there's only like, I think 3 or 4 of these tanks. So
Wow.
you're lucky you can even find them when you can find
So
them.
how long did it take you to shoot the film?
The film actually took, I think, 4 to 5 weeks, but between pre-production and then ramping up and then finally wrapping and then getting home. I was there 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay.
6 weeks. Yeah. Typically these things get shot in 30 days, 25 to
Mhm.
30 days. And that's short. I mean, movies used to take 3 months, 4 months with big budgets.
Yeah.
But those are big. Like when we did Cowboys and Aliens,
Oh, that's a great movie.
that was like 3 months, 3 to 4 months, and that was like $150 million film. I mean, that was massive. With these films with smaller budgets, look, I'm blown away. I mean, they spent a lot of money on this film, but it's epic. I mean, the way they shot it is epic. They didn't hold back on how they
No.
were filming this film, especially all
And-
the underwater stuff.
Well, to the underwater stuff, I know in the film, you suit up in some scuba gear and you're down. And I think in the movie time, you were maybe 5 minutes of scenes. But how long were you underwater to film just for the few minutes that came on the screen?
Yeah, which is also disappointing, man. Because I wanted to. I mean, look, I am in it, and you're going to be able to see me.
You thought you were a regular Latino Jacques Cousteau, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna go. Yeah, I was gonna start doing tours of. I was gonna go do coral reef tours. I'd guide those tourists into these reefs. No, I was there. We all got half of the crew got COVID when we shot this thing, and this was back in. We shot December of 2021, and we wrapped up January of 2022. And when we came back after Christmas, ready to ramp up, we were doing testing, and half the crew pretty much got COVID. So the production kind of had to shut down to make sure everybody recovered and keep everybody safe. So 10 days, I got COVID, isolated for 10 days. And then 10 days after that, 3 days after my isolation, I got called in to go do the underwater stuff, and I was there 5 hours underwater. And we would
5
go
hours?
up. Well, you'd go up to switch out your tanks, you know. And by the way, when I accepted this role, one of the things I told the director, I said, "Man, I'd love to do this movie, but I don't know if I could do it. I don't know how to swim." And he says, "It's an ocean movie, and I don't know how to swim." And he says, "No, you don't have to learn how to swim when you dive." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Don't forget, you have air on your back. You know, you've got a tank of air on
Right.
your back." But yeah, man, it's kind of crazy, you know, all that work, and it just gets reduced to, you know.
Okay, you're an accomplished actor, you're successful, you have a family, you've done all these things. When are you gonna learn how to swim, Julio?
I'm never gonna learn how to swim. Listen, this will be the last shark movie I'm ever gonna do. I'm never going to go
Yeah.
in the water.
Hey, never say never. What if
No,
the
I'm gonna
movie's
say
so
never.
popular? What if the movie's so popular they want a sequel?
You know, there is this, you know, there is a thing called stunt doubles, and next time I'm gonna ask for that, you know.
Okay. Bottom line, you're not getting in the water again.
I'm not
Okay.
getting in the water. I'm not gonna go tiger hunting. I'm not gonna do crazy things that all my gringo friends do, man. They do crazy stuff. I'm like, man, I mean, look, I'm not gonna generalize, but every Mexican friend I have, they don't go underwater. You know, they're not gonna be swimming with sharks, you know.
All right. Well, we're not close friends yet, my friend. But I am a scuba diver. Believe it or not, I love
Oh,
scuba diving.
dude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One of the things that flipped me out when they were training us, we did a course for 3 days. They were teaching us how to flush the water out of your mask, two different ways.
Mhm.
And I was like, wait a minute, you want me to go at the bottom of the where we're shooting, and you want me to pull my mask up to let water in? Are you nuts? Yeah. Well, I had to learn how to do that. Uh, so I tried it with just the mask with a regulator in the mouth, and I had to learn that way. And then they taught me how to do the other mask, which pretty much encompasses your whole face.
Sure.
And with both of those, I had to pull water into my mask to flush it out. That's when I thought this is bonkers. And then to depressurize on the way down. So my friend, you are nuts. You are
I
nuts doing that.
I am nuts, and I tell you what, and it's not for now, but another time maybe. I actually found a love for being underwater when I was in college. I went to Texas State University, which back then was Southwest Texas State, and they had Aquarina Springs, and
Oh,
they had the underwater show. I was one of the witch doctors that swam in the underwater show. You know, sometimes 5 6 times
are you
a day.
serious? Oh
Yes,
my
sir.
God.
I
Wow.
swam with Ralph the swimming pig, but you know what? No comment. We won't go there. Back to the
Hey,
movie.
you can go do that while I kind of float down the lazy river there in San Marcos, man.
There you go. There you go. Hey, so this ancient god, pronounce his name again? Takulek
It's not Taco Land or
the
Taco Man.
Taco
It's Tlaloc. It's TL,
Tlaloc.
yeah, ALOC, yeah. Tlaloc. Yeah.
Tlaloc. Now he is the ancient god of rain, thunder, fertility, agriculture. Our ancestors believed in this. All through history, globally, somebody prayed to the gods. And this particular god just kind of fascinated me as I started doing some research before this podcast. Interesting fella.
Yeah, so I wouldn't listen. I what I can say is if you know, I listen. I've been to Machu Picchu. I've been to Teotihuacan in Mexico. You know, when you're in that sort of mindset, indigenous mindset, in the end, they were worshiping the you know, Mother Earth. You know,
Right.
and so in essence, that's how they broke it apart. And I have a lot of respect for that. You know, for me, I feel like in the film, you know, it deals with this natural disaster with the rig and how it's, you know, seeping oil from underneath. So really the God aspect of it is a punishment that's being put upon man for not taking care of Mother Earth. You know, there is that aspect of the film. It's look, it's a good message. I
Yeah.
think anyway, if you can sneak in a good message, that's great. Is it going to be perfect? No, you know, people are
Yeah.
going to love it or they don't. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's going to provoke thought. You know, whether you like like the theme, that aspect of the message, it doesn't matter. In the end, I think it's a really cool way to do it, especially through the Aztec culture,
Well, there's one thing that I've noticed here in Texas that lately we've been getting some severe weather. I mean, we're talking about softball and grapefruit-sized hail. I'm just wondering if this God isn't back.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking that the other day because I was thinking it's been so chilly up here. I live over here in Fort Worth, and it got pretty chilly yesterday. And I was wearing shorts, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to wear like a fur coat and sandals and walk out with an umbrella.
Dude,
It's
we're getting what grapefruit-sized hail. I mean, talk about a physical embodiment of retribution. I mean,
Oh
boom,
no, without a
right
doubt,
there on the
we're getting
that's
punished.
that's
Oh
bad.
yeah, oh yeah.
So hey, maybe we need to make a sacrifice to Lolak or whatever.
Yeah, there's a couple of family members I'd sacrifice right now for sure. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, guys, this show is for entertainment, not to be taken seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I really, really appreciate you coming on this, and again, the movie. Congratulations, and Jose, look, if you're listening out there, and if you don't know about Julio career, look it up. I mean, you have done some amazing things. Can you kind of give me just the listeners a quick little highlight of some of the people you've worked with and some of the shows you've been on, programs?
Yeah, it's funny. When I started as an actor, when I didn't have many credits, when people would say, "Hey, so what do you do for a living?" It was hard for me to say I was an actor because when I would say I'm an actor, then people would say, have you been in anything anything I might have seen you in? And man, I couldn't come up with anything because I hadn't done much. And then through the years, as I began to work and begin to build my resume, it was always hard for me to even say I was an actor because people, when I would say I'm an actor, they'd say, "Well, what have you been in?" And then I'd have to list, all these things I was in, and I always felt like I had to validate myself through that. You ask a doctor, "So what do you do for a living?" And they say, "Oh, I'm a doctor." You don't say, "Well, how many surgeries have you done? How many?" They don't go through a whole list of surgeries. But I think that was just my insecurities, as an actor. I it was hard for me. But now I can tell you proudly, I am an actor, and I'm so proud of it. And I have worked with a lot of really great people. And to name a few, I mean, not that I'm just name dropping, but I've been very fortunate.
Well, I asked.
No, without a doubt. But I'm very proud of it because I see myself as an actor who was being an apprentice for so long. And it was my job to learn from the greats. And I can certainly tell you, having worked with Tommy Lee Jones and the Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada, that was a huge highlight in my career. But then going on and getting to work with Sam Rockwell and Daniel Craig, and getting to work with even Diego Luna in Narcos Mexico, Michael Chiklis on the show Coyote, and even in this one with Josh Lucas, it's been great, man. It's a constant. I have an admiration for a lot of these actors, but I also give myself a lot of credit to learn from them, and then to also, when I'm working with actors who are just beginning, to remind myself of how to be a giving actor to them as well, to help them. In essence, I help myself when I help them. I learned that a lot from even watching Daniel Craig when we did Cowboys and Aliens. He was not self-deprecating, but he'd like to make fun of himself a little bit, and that kind of humanized him with us as actors. And he was kind of signaling to us that, hey, we're all here to have fun, and that's important. And that's what you learn from the greats. I'll be honest with you, all these big actors I've worked with. In fact, I even worked with Sybil Shepherd in a movie called Rose, Being Rose. And I spent so much time with her. I played a state trooper in that named Ernesto. And, they're very giving. I mean, all these great actors are very giving. And it's always the lesser actor that tends to want to show up and be the, sort of the self-absorbed actor. And they're the ones I don't have great experiences with. But it's always the big actors who know how to make you feel they validate you. They make you feel wanted,
Well, I'm sure a lot of these big actors out there, when they're being interviewed, they're going, "Who's some of the favorite people you worked with?" And I bet Julio Cedillo is up there at the top of all of them. Man.
Well, if anything, they can say he's a good actor. He brought his own lunchbox, I like
was it a sandwich, or did you wrap up some burritos there for lunch?
Oh, you got to bring the burritos now. Listen, I remember when I was in school, I was in, second grade? No, first grade. It was first grade. There was a kid named Frankie, And he showed up with the sandwich, and I knew what a sandwich was, but I didn't know that yellow thing he had in a sandwich. And I said, "Hey,
The
what is
yellow
that?"
thing.
Yes, and he said
Okay.
it's mustard, and I was like, "What's that?" If you think about it, I didn't eat mustard up until I was in middle school, and burritos was my thing. I'd show up with my mom would make me these little
Yeah.
aluminum foil. I'd have the brown paper bag, and yeah. So I to this day, if I could bring my own lunch to some of these sets, I would.
Okay. And nowadays they're not called burritos; they're called wraps.
Oh, that's
They're called
right.
wraps,
Is it? Isn't that,
which makes it socially acceptable. What did you have for lunch? A wrap? No, hombre,
yeah,
es un
well, it sounds
burrito.
healthy. It sounds like, well, it's kind of like kale, right? Kale is collard greens, right?
Right.
The kale just sounds healthy. To me, kale sounds like cardboard, I will eat collard greens before I eat kale, right?
So you truly have vacillated between two countries. I mean, you're born in Durango. Love the city. I've been there. Believe that's where Pancho Villa was born as well.
Yeah, his real name was Doroteo Arango, but it's also the place where John Wayne shot a lot of movies.
Absolutely. I guess the question I have is, as an actor, where in the early years being Latino kept people from getting parts. I mean, look at Martin Sheen. He basically changed his name,
Yeah.
just to get parts. But
Yeah, yeah.
in today's world, do you see it as an advantage or a disadvantage in the movie business being Latino?
You know what? Look, I don't tend to, here's the hard part. I try not to get sucked into the identity politics of in the movie world. But if you look at my career, a lot of the things I get cast in, I've been cast as a campesino, a drug lord, a ranch hand, and this one I'm an old rig worker named Chato. And so I can't escape those kinds of roles. So instead of fighting them, I have to do the work. We cannot be lazy. So I'll answer your question, but let me add this part of it.
Sure.
So when I was starting out as an actor, I had a lot of friends who would say, "I can't believe they want me to read for this part or that part." And for them, it was always seemed like stereotypical roles. And to a larger extent, I probably would agree with them. But one of the things I had to remind them was like, look, we wanted to be actors. Now we're given a chance. But yes, the roles aren't great. I remember doing stuff with Walker, Texas Ranger, where I played a ex-gang member. It had a good message, but the writers were white, and the role and the dialogue wasn't great. I wanted to dirty it up a little bit because it just
Mhm.
seemed a little too antiseptic, and
Make it real.
I wanted to make it real. But so one of the things I would tell my friends is like, look, just get in there, get cast, and then once you're there, then you make all these suggestions, and then you make all these changes and collaborate. It's really easy to resist all this stuff. We live in a society where everybody wants everything to be perfect. Everybody thinks that equality is important. I believe in equality, and I think we must strive for that always, without a doubt. But instead of being negative and resistant and almost militant, you have to subvert the system, any system. And the way you do it is go in there as a team player and
Mhm.
come up with solutions and answers. And I promise you, that is the way change happens. And that's the way it changes in Hollywood. So the thing that I've learned about, to answer your question, you know, I don't know how many times, and I know, you having grown up in Texas and especially understanding the political world, because it's kind of the same thing with the political world. It's we come and go. It's ebbs and flows. There's peaks and valleys with the way Latinos are being perceived and brought into the fray. But there's way more opportunities now than ever before. The thing to fight is the quality. So at the end of the day, for me, people keep calling me a Mexican actor, a Mexican American actor, a Latino actor. And honestly, I'm an actor first who
Right.
happens to be Latino. I wouldn't call you a Mexican American attorney. It's like, no, you're an attorney who happens to be Mexican
Sure.
American. So I think we need to start recalibrating that. I don't think, I think being proud of who we are is extremely important. Never let that go, ever, because you bring something to the table that someone doesn't have. But we have to remember that it's quality that we have to strive for. So when you're an actor and you're working on these movies, it's better to be in a movie where you're dealing with universal themes about love, greed, redemption. Those are things that anybody can relate to, no matter your cultural background. But if you have a little bit of that essence of your culture in the background, that's part of the story. That's beautiful too. But it's more about the quality of the work and the story you're telling. I would rather be in a movie like that than a movie where it's all about the culture and it's all about this struggle. And after a while, that gets old. We can perpetuate
Yeah.
our own stereotypes, and we have to be careful with that. So I think it's good to tell the stories, but let's tell them in a way that's very human, so that we don't get caught up arguing with each other. The black experience and the black community have done such a wonderful job of putting out their stories, and
Oh,
it's a very
absolutely.
and then
Yeah.
diverse. And people always say, well, how come Latinos can't do that? Well, this is what I say. The Black experience is very diverse, and there's different layers to that experience. But in the end, it's still a very shared experience. Latinos, you either come here from a different part of Latin America, right? And we're specifically talking about Latinos, or you're second, third, fourth generation Latinos. And so that's very complex, because are you American or are you Latino? But you can't, it's like gum in your hair. We're
And
all of that.
and we come from 22 different countries of origin, so there's even more nuances to add to that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
what you try to do in story is you say, okay, well, let's not get caught up in the trap of trying to tell all these Latino stories in one little story. So let that fall into the back and then just tell the universal story. Romeo and Juliet. Maybe you have a
Hmm.
Nicaraguan family marrying somebody who's Cuban. Fine, let that sit in the back. But the story is a love story, and it's a tragic love story.
Sure.
That's more exciting than focusing on representing both cultures in the story. I'm like, that could be too much after a while, right?
Yeah.
So it's not to water down what we're doing, but let's not get caught in the trap either, right? And it's tough. But look, the streaming platforms have allowed more films that come into play. We get to see films we hadn't seen before. There's new actors we hadn't seen
Right.
before. So really, we're in a much better place today than we have been in the past. But the one thing I can tell your audience, anybody out there who wants to be an actor, a writer, a director, production designer, sound operator, whatever, don't wait for anybody to come by and help you. Don't wait for somebody to give you a license to create. You can do it right now. Don't wait. You can do it, because anytime I'm on a film set, everybody's nervous. Everybody's trying to figure it out. They may not tell you that, but we're all working through the process. And the kids today, when they want to compare themselves to the films and the products on Instagram, they get short-circuited, because they're seeing a finished product, and then they say to themselves, I'll never live up to that. Well, guess what? Don't, because it took a lot of people to make that film happen. And you're seeing the best takes, the best moments, the best music. Don't compare yourself.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break. Go do what you want to do today, and build a community with people who are excited about doing something. It's not about being perfect. Just do something. And I promise you, if you focus on telling good stories, people are going to find you, and you will find yourself in a much better position again, because we need more stories. We need more female directors. We need more females in this business more than ever.
And
Those
we
days of men driving the whole thing, that's got to go, man.
and we need more Latinos and Latinas in the studios making those decisions and doing the
Yes,
writing, doing
yes,
the final stuff.
yes.
The Black Demon, great movie. One of my your character was it
Oh, Chato.
Choto Chato.
Yeah,
He has
Chato.
a great line in there. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes.
When he's talking to Josh Lucas.
Oh, yes. When he has to make this guy snap out of it, he says, "Open your eyes, cabrón."
I love that.
Oh man.
I love that. Open
Yeah.
your eyes, Cabron. That's gonna be
Yeah.
my new go-to comment there. Open your eyes, Cabron.
Well, it's funny because they made a T-shirt when we wrapped, and they made a cap that had it on the side, "Open your eyes, cabrón," and everybody would use it in different contexts. Somebody would say, "Open your eyes, cabrón. This churro has dulce de leche in it," and So it was like you can use it for anything. Like open your eyes, Cabrón. We have an exam tonight. If you're going to school,
Open your eyes, cabrón. It's not a burrito. It's a wrap.
it's a wrap.
It's a
Exactly,
wrap.
exactly,
Hey,
exactly.
before we go, and I could just talk to you forever, Julio. Thank you very much again for being on the show. But what's next for you?
Yeah, so I've got. Well, there's a lot. I mean, what's next for me is I gotta work because I gotta pay the bills. But
Well, you've been doing it for what, 33 years. I mean,
yeah,
you seem to
yeah,
be pretty good about it. So I have no
yeah,
doubt
yeah.
you'll stay working for a while.
Yeah, no. Listen, I'm blessed. My look, I'm doing well, and I've got a couple of films coming out this year. I mean, in total, there's seven that are coming out this year from the last year and a half.
That you're going to be in?
That I'm going to be in. There was one that
Wow.
came out of Dead. It's called Deadland. It's another one of these supernatural films. Takes place on the border. I play an internal affairs border patrol guy. It's I love that character. It's called Deadland. It should be coming out later this year. There's a movie that's premiering at the Dallas International Film Festival called Chocolate Lizards. I play a sheriff in that. Thomas Hayden Church is in that. Carrie Ann Moss is in that from the Matrix. Rudy
Mhm.
Pankow from the show at the Outer Banks. So that'll be this Saturday, but that should hopefully be distributed by the end of the year. But the one I'm also looking forward to is A Million Miles Away. It's based on a true story about an astronaut named Joe Hernandez, and it's about a migrant farming family who is going back and forth from Michoacan to Central Valley, California. And it's a story about the young boy who eventually becomes a real astronaut. And I believe you had interviewed him in the past, based on a true story. Michael Pena plays my son. I play his father, and
And
that should
Michael Pena plays the astronaut
he
or
plays
Jose,
the
right?
astronaut. Yeah, he plays my son. Yeah, and that comes out in October. And then there's another film that should be coming out hopefully by November, December. It's called A Cielo Abierto. It's a Mexican film. The writer's Guillermo Arriaga, who wrote Amores Perros, 21 Grams, Babel. He also wrote The Three Burials, the film that I did with Tommy Lee Jones, and he brought me back. And that's a really intense film because it's about a coming of age story of two boys who go exact revenge on a man who killed their father in a hit and run accident, and they kidnap him and they go into the desert. So I'm really excited about that. And then hopefully in June I'll be in Bogota shooting a horror film. Uh,
Another a horror film?
a horror, yeah. I think I'm going to end up in this genre for a little bit, but and I believe I turn into a creature. You got to watch out. I turn into this crazy creature. So we'll
Sounds
see
like a
how
lot. It sounds like a lot of time in the makeup chair.
a lot of time in the makeup chair, man. So yeah.
Well, Julio, before we go, any closing comments? And once again, I personally I want to thank you for being on the show, and also want to thank you for representing out there. You've done an amazing job. You are the type of actor that I look up to, and even though you don't have those major roles, you're out there supporting, making it all happen. Without you, these films wouldn't be the films they are.
Hey, listen, man, that means a lot to me. Yeah, listen, I was hoping in my life that I'd be more a mainstream actor. But you know what? I countered that with having to being home with my family, my kids. That was way more important to me. And I think I made the right move. I'm in a position where I can spend a lot of time with my kids when I can, and then I can still go out and make these movies. And so I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, my thing is I'm always going to be a servant to the story, and I'm always conscious of the fact that I'm representing a group of people out there, but I try not to let that be the only thing that leads me into story. I still have to bring these characters to life. So I'm very grateful that I'm doing this. But more importantly, to anyone out there listening to us today, one thing I want to say to you is don't be hard on yourself. Be kind to yourself. If you're kind to yourself, you're going to get to some of those goals you want to get to, and take everything in small bites. Learn how to compartmentalize. Don't die. Pick which hill you're going to die on. There's a lot that I've learned from being an actor that's helped me in my personal life. And I think that it's a marathon. Life is a marathon, and so pace yourself, and spend a lot of time with the people who care and love you, and be a mentor to people, and find those mentors for yourself, but also mentor people. I do that with young actors, and I also have my mentors that I visit with. And that's helped me throughout my life. And again, I'm living the most humble life I can live, but also be a badass, be the great you want to be, because if you believe it, it becomes a reality. You know, that perception will become a reality. And if you feel like you can be great, you are great. And that's what pushes me through to get the work that I get.
Great advice. Julio, thank you very much. You've been listening to Latino Business Report, and we've been here with Julio Cesar Cedillo, a great actor, hermano from Durango, is up here making it happen on the big screen and in productions for the past 33 years. Thank you for listening to Latino Business Report. You can find us where you listen to your favorite podcast, or you can find us at latinobusinessreport.com. Once again, Julio, thank you for joining us, and best of luck to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in your next production. Once again, my name is J.R. Gonzalez. You've been listening to Latino Business Report, and guys, till next time.